everybody? Ryan here from Music City Live. Welcome to Inside the Roadcase. I'm here at the 2025 NAMM show with Fred Greene from Martin Guitars. Fred, how are you?
Good to be with you.
Thanks, man. Thanks for doing this. I just want to talk to you a little bit about yourself, about what you do with the company, how long you've been with them, and then the company itself. How long has Martin been around? It's a long time, obviously. So how long have you been with Martin?
I've been with Martin for 20 years. I joined in 2004. I was with Gibson Guitar for 15 years.
Oh, wow.
In Nashville.
You had like over a legal lifetime in guitar.
It was way too long. I joined Gibson Guitar in 1988. I was a janitor.
Really?
Yes.
This is a crazy story.
It was a crazy story.
That's awesome.
Playing in a punk rock band. I took a job there as a janitor, and by the time I left in 2003, I was chief operating officer.
That's insane.
It was
amazing.
It was a wild ride. I was there for the Guns N' Roses years.
So that's amazing. So how did that happen? Like, how did you go from there to there? Like, what was the? I know obviously there's a lot to that, but
there's a lot to it. Gibson was a really crazy time. 1988, they were just coming out of some of the worst times ever, the New Orleans years, the mid 80s. Henry Juskowitz bought the company in 2007 for $5 million.
Wow.
And the whole company was in one small building which is now Gibson USA. I just graduated college, and I applied for a job, and they said, we don't have any jobs. All we could do, I can give you the janitor job. That's all I've got. It was paid $2 more than I was making in my other job. So I took it.
Yeah.
Just work your way up, and
got to know everybody.
Got to know people, and then it was a hyper competitive time there. Internally, and if you knew how to make money and you were into guitars, you could move up quick, and I did, and it was I learned a lot.
Cool.
But it took its toll. It was a tough ride.
Yeah, I can imagine.
That's a tough ride.
Yeah, especially in those days too, right? Especially at that time for Gibson, probably too.
It was crazy time. It was party time. There was a lot of illegal stuff going on. It was a good time, but it took it out of you. It was really, really super high pressure where you're pushed really, really hard.
Oh yeah.
And you traveled a lot, and at the end, my job was to go and turn businesses around. So Henry had bought Baldwood pianos, and he bought Trace Elliott amplifiers, and all those kinds, and Steinberger, and just so many different little brands that you would go and work at and have to flip them real fast and do all that kind of stuff, and it was just exhausting. And eventually, around 2003, I just made the decision that I was sort of turning into somebody I didn't really want to be.
Right. I see. Okay.
And I just quit.
And then how did you end up over at Martin?
There's a funny story that I saw Martin was looking for somebody to come in and be the vice president of production to run the factories. And Ren Ferguson, who was custom master builder for Gibson at the time, Martin had called him and asked him if he wanted to do it. And he said no, he did not. But he says, I know the guy you should hire.
Oh, wow.
And so he recommended me, and I applied, and I told my wife, I said, I promise you, I will get this job.
Wow.
And I did. And 20 years later, I'm now the vice president of product. So I found somebody else to take my manufacturing job so I could just design guitars.
Hey, there's nothing wrong with that.
No, I created my own job.
Super fun.
Yeah,
nice.
Super fun.
It's awesome. And so Martin's how old as a company?
Martin was established in 1833, New York City to begin with. After a couple of years, they moved to Pennsylvania because they were German immigrants. It reminded them of Germany. Everybody in Pennsylvania at the time spoke German. Or the area they.
Is Martin one of the first acoustic guitar brands out there? Do you think one of the majors anyway?
Well, in the United States, yeah.
United States.
Yeah, I mean, not to make light of it, but I tell people that Martin was making guitars before Leo Fender's parents were born.
Wow.
I mean, you think about it. In 1833, they were making guitars before the Civil War in the United States. Before light bulbs.
Yeah, right?
Right.
That's scary.
Before trains were running up and down the country. It's
incredible.
It's really hard to believe. And we have those guitars in our museum, and they still play. It's unbelievable they still play. And when you come to a NAMM show like this, and you walk around, you look at all the other acoustic brands, you recognize that most of them probably wouldn't exist without Martin.
Yeah, right.
It's the most copied. When you think of an acoustic guitar, you think of a dreadnought, right? Well, that's not the generic thing. Martin literally invented that.
Yeah, right. Interesting.
Right? That you kind of take it for granted.
Yeah.
That somebody had to do that. It's like,
so
in a weird way, it's like inventing the wheel or finding fire.
And I mean, people have modified it. They changed angles and little things on
Little
it.
things. They were playing around.
But overall, like, you know, like you say, when you look at these guitars, that's the style.
Most people still use Martin's nomenclature. The dreadnought, the D, that's Martin. The triple O, that's Martin. The double O, that's Martin. All that stuff is Martin. The square peg head, that's Martin. X bracing, everybody uses X bracing on the tops. That's Martin. Shape of the bridge, that's Martin.
Yeah.
It's kind of ridiculous when you think about it, and you feel a real sense of responsibility when you're designing products around that too, because you don't want to screw it up.
Yeah.
Oh, they had 192 years of business.
And have they been in kind of the same area the whole time?
The whole time.
Wow.
The current factory is just a couple blocks down from the original factory down the street. It's still standing.
It's crazy.
Yeah, we still have it.
How many people work at Maroon right now, roughly?
We actually have two factories. We have one in Nazareth, Pennsylvania. Then we have a factory in Navajo, Mexico. And that's where we make some value price products along with our strings. So in Nazareth, we have approximately 480 to 500 people working.
Wow.
And we have about the same in Mexico.
Is that right?
Yeah, so we're right around between 900 and 1,000 people.
And the Mexican factory is your factory, right?
Yeah. It's a maquiladora, which in other words, they provide the labor.
Yeah.
But we own all the machines and all the stuff inside.
So but it's run by you guys.
Yeah, 100% managed by us. Our team, yeah.
Yeah, because I've been talking to a few different companies, and not everybody can say that, right? Like, not everybody. There's a lot of companies that have responded back to me saying, but yeah, you know, we have our factory in the U.S., but, you know, we work with partners to build our guitars in these other countries.
Those people are sourcing guitars mostly, you know, obviously from China or Korea, or places like that. Now Fender owns their factory, right, in Mexico. Taylor owns their factory in Mexico. We own our factory in Mexico.
It's cool,
bud. Of the majors, Gibson. All Gibson products, obviously USA, with the exception of all the Epiphone stuff, which they source from overseas.
Yeah, right. That's cool. So you're the product guy. I mean, how have things changed over the since you've been there? I mean, the last 20 years, we'll say, because I mean, obviously, since the original days, lots has changed. But in the last 20 years since you've been there, like, where's the direction gone for you guys in terms of guitars?
Well, we're the traditionalists in the market, so we sort of have a core line of products, which are D18s and D28s and things of that nature. They really don't change that much. They're rooted in sort of the vintage 1930s products. Well, the big changes that you're seeing in the industry are around wood, the types of wood, non-traditional woods, the sourcing over the last 20 years. There's so much pressure on that right now. There's a lot of discussion about the environment and how wood and how, you know, responsible logging and all that. And sometimes I question whether people want responsible logging or if they want no logging, because everybody talks responsible logging, but when they write rules like they want no logging. So that makes it really tough to find the material. So you're seeing manufacturers experimenting with lots of new materials. And I'd say the other big change over the last 20 years has been electronics. The progress of pickups and acoustic guitars has really changed. When I joined, it was mostly just pretty traditional piezo pickups. They're not that sophisticated. And now with modeling and all the different stuff that's going on inside the instrument, pickups have become really sophisticated. They've really sort of changed the way people use acoustic guitars.
Has there been any talk of using any additional, like, Canadian type woods? Because I know there was a Martin that we had in our shop that was it had a Canadian nickel in it.
Yes.
We had one of those come in.
Yes.
And so I'm just wondering about you mentioned the woods, so I'm wondering if there's any talk of using Canadian woods.
Well, right now, you know, a lot of the spruce we're getting from the Sitka area and from Canada. So
cool.
They're biggest suppliers of spruce for us. And then we have Lut spruce, which is like a hybrid spruce between Sitka and white spruce, so they call it Luts, and a lot of that comes from Canada. We're also getting maple. right?
Where
And,
you guys use maple where? Just for people that don't know.
Okay, so we make lots of custom guitars.
Yep.
Right, so people order maple guitars on a regular basis. Last year we made a guitar called Inception, and that guitar was primarily using maple and walnut. So we're trying to highlight domestic hardwoods.
Yep.
Because of the difficulty getting all these exotics.
That's what I've been hearing. Yeah.
Yeah. So we've been experimenting with that, and we're experimenting with finding ways to take maple and change the color. Because maple's a weird one. When people see it on acoustic guitars, sometimes it's a turnoff because they all want to see that dark wood on the back.
Right.
And they see something white, and they go, "Oh, that's really cool. Can I get it in rosewood?" That's kind of what they always say.
Sure. Yeah, because again, they're looking at the traditional look of the guitar, right?
Correct.
They're like, oh, that looks cool, but I like this one better because it's in the back of their mind, right?
Acoustic guitars are really weird because people's point of reference is some form of nostalgia.
Yeah.
So convincing them that the way a guitar should sound, they know what acoustics should sound like to them. It's what they remember it sounding like. And what they remember hearing is rosewood or mahogany. So when you introduce something different or something new, it's sort of dissonance. It doesn't sound right. And they go, "Oh, that's interesting," or "It's pretty," but I would rather have the other. I want the one that sounds like Ilya.
Sure.
So it makes it a tough sell. I was just having this conversation with somebody. They said, "Why don't you make more of these domestic hardwoods?" And I said, "Why don't you buy more of them?"
Yeah. There you go.
Because I make them all the time and you don't buy them.
Yeah, exactly.
So
where's your money where out it is?
The consumers are sort of voting with their dollars. It's not that the manufacturers don't want to.
Sure.
It's you're not purchasing.
Yeah, right.
Right. And I tell this that we have had the same conversation with artists. You have an artist who comes in from an environmental concert where they're raising money for the environment, and they want to do a deal and they want to work with you on a guitar, and I go, "Great, what do you want to do?" And they go, "Brazilian rosewood." And I said, "It's illegal."
Yeah.
They go, "Well, I know you could still get it."
Oh, jeez.
They just want something expensive.
Yeah, they were expensive, and they want to push it to the edge, right? Like
correct. And I says, "Well, there's a reason why people aren't buying, these domestic hardwood products, is because you as an artist aren't playing. You're telling everybody out there, don't buy it.
Yeah.
Just by what you're using. It would be like a movie star walking around with blood diamonds under their neck.
Right. Yeah. It ain't gonna happen.
No. So it's a weird thing. So the psychology of designing guitars and what we do is kind of weird.
What's your take on? So it's interesting. I've talked to we have a lot of students in the town where we are in London, Ontario.
Okay.
We have a lot of students and stuff, and I've talked to some customers, some students, some younger people and stuff when they come in, and obviously we carry a bunch of different brands, and they all, they pick up the Martin, they'll play it, some of them love it, they'll buy it. Different people have said different things to me about Martin, because sometimes people see like Martin as sort of their parents' guitar.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? How what's your take on that? And how should young people view, in your opinion, how should young people view Martin going forward?
I know what you mean when you say people see it as their parents' guitar. When you've been around 190 years, I mean, we're not trying to run away from that. I'm going to be honest with you. We're sort of embracing the fact that our guitars are the way they are, and they've remained the way they are because there's some intrinsic beauty and value in having something that's handmade. And yeah, they're austere. I agree, they're not the flashiest guitars you can buy, but they're sort of this quiet luxury.
Yeah.
Beauty and something it has just what it needs and nothing more.
I had a conversation, and people out there don't know this. These are like conversations that I have, but I had a conversation with a former rep that you guys had on a couple years ago.
Right.
And we talked about, during the pandemic, we talked about, hey man, can we get more guitars? Like, can't you guys just, and this is like me not knowing, right?
Right.
And I haven't had the pleasure of touring the factory yet. I haven't seen it, so I don't know. So I'm talking to him and I'm like, hey, can't you guys just hire more luthiers? Can't you just, and he's like, are you crazy?
Right.
Like, you don't understand.
Doesn't work.
He goes, no, listen, man. He goes, we have people that, these are all handmade guitars. Like, some of these people have been working on these guitars forever. And like it just, you can't just increase staffing. Like, it doesn't work that way. We're never, he goes, we're never going to sacrifice the quality of what we do. It's not going to happen. So he goes, just going to have to wait. That's it. You know, at that time. Okay?
When you come to our factory, it is a bit like walking back in time. Now, don't get me wrong, there's all kinds of modern machinery. All that stuff is there, right? The most modern machinery you could buy. I'd say in some ways we're the most sophisticated factory. But it's old world. It's all of our boys are locals. They come from the town, and their grandfather worked there, and their mom works here, and they teach each other, and it's like an apprenticeship. I promise you, when you walk in our factory, it's the cleanest factory you've ever been in your life.
Wow.
And you don't have to tell people. They clean their area every day. There's not sawdust on the floor. Right? It's like
proud.
They're proud. It's like a race shop.
Yeah, and that's rare by the way now.
The instruments, they retain their value because of that, right? So when I talk to a young person about it, I say, yeah, you could buy something that maybe looks trendy today, that looks flashy, that has some new form of electronics that, let's be honest, in 3 years is going to be obsolete.
Sure,
you're stuck with it.
Yeah.
Right? Or you could buy something, invest in something that you know is not going to lose value and has retained that value for almost 200 years.
Yeah, that's crazy.
It's not going to go away. You're never going to be sorry. And if you don't like it, or you change your mind and you want to get out of it, you can get out of it, so you're not going to lose your shirt.
Yeah, and it's easy to do with Martin guitar.
Right.
It's just not hard to move Martin guitar.
We've seen, if you get out here and just walk around and you look at some of these new guitars walking around, and you say, oh, it's interesting, or that's cool, or that's different. I promise you, you look at it 5 years from now, and it's going to look like a tribal tattoo. You know what I mean? And you're not going to want it. And it's going to be in the bargain bin of your local store. And the Martin's still going to be sitting up there in the top shelf.
Yeah, I know it'll be one of your favorite guitars to play, too. That's what I hear from a lot of artists.
Absolutely.
A lot of people that I talk to, young or old, they're all saying, they're like, oh, I got my Martin, you know, and that's the, you know, especially for songwriting. Like a lot of people for writing songs and stuff, they'll break out their Martin guitar. Usually it's a vintage one. Like sometimes it'll be passed down, or they'll get it from someone. Like I know a bunch of people.
Connection.
Absolutely, and so some of the best songs they've written come off that guitar, you know. So emotional is a key word, right? Like there's an emotional thing to owning a guitar, especially owning a classic guitar that someone else, whether it be in your family or someone else that you know has owned and passed down to you. And you know, and Martin has that, right? Martin has it with the age of the company.
100%.
Right? There's that. So I think that there's a lot of moving parts when it comes to why some young people look at Martin as that type of thing. But I think that going forward, I think that, you know, it shouldn't be that way. I think that, you know, to me, when I look at some of the guitar players that I look up to, some of the songwriters that I look up to, a lot of them do play Martin. I mean, they have other stuff. Everybody's got all kinds of stuff in their bin, right? I mean, we did a show once with John Bon Jovi, and, you know, massive show, and the entire back of the stage, and then some, was just full of guitars.
Right.
My head just fell off my shoulders. I was like, how can these guitar techs keep all these guitars?
It's different purpose.
Ready to go.
Yeah. It's crazy.
So I've seen obviously different acts that have a lot of guitars. So obviously everybody, you know, not everybody just plays a Martin or just plays a guitar or whatever.
Absolutely.
But it's like, to me, I think, but I think, you know, to me, a lot of the people that I've spoken to about Martin had said, you know, wow, like I love writing on my Martin. I love, you know, taking my Martin to the beach, to the cottage, to whatever it is, right? Because they just inspire. They get inspired by the emotional connection to the environment, to the sun, to whatever, and then they grab the guitar and away they go. And I mean, it could be with any brand, but it just so happens that a lot of them, again, they've had these guitars passed down, and it just so happens to be a Martin every once in a while.
It's really weird why people connect with certain instruments. I mean, I love Gibson. I love Fender. I like Taylor guitars. Obviously, I like Martin guitars. Certain brands I can connect with. I have a Telecaster at home. I love that guitar. I have an SG. I probably play the SG more than I play any guitar I own. And part of the reason was that when I was working at Gibson, it was like a proto guitar, and I got it. I've had it for a long time now. I just can't unplug from it for some reason. And I have some Martins that feel that way. But I'll be honest with you, I've had people give me like really nice, expensive guitars from other brands. And as much as I try, they're almost too pretty sometimes. I feel like I'm a pimple on the finish of this guitar. Like it's I can't really dig into it. And there's nothing wrong with the guitar, technically. There's nothing wrong. They play great. They sound fine. But I just can't get there, and I'm not even sure why. And I think some brands, Fender, Gibson, Martin, have been around a long time because they've been able to establish that connection with those consumers. And I'm not so sure I can really even explain it.
Right.
You know,
Being the VP of product,
yeah.
where is things going for Martin as a company, and with not only just on the product side, but even as overall as a company? Like, where are things headed, do you think, at this point?
You're going to see more domestic hardwood. I can promise you that. You're going to see more non-traditional woods making their way, but you're going to see them make their way into our line in non-traditional body shapes.
Okay.
I found out that if I try to, like I said, put a maple guitar together and I make it out of a dreadnought, it just won't work because everybody compares it to the regular ones. So if I want them to honestly hear maple, it has to be in a format that they can't compare it against.
Right.
So you're going to see more of that. You're going to see a lot more artist collaborations.
Okay.
Going forward.
Oh, that'd be cool.
I think it's important. Even though the music industry has changed so much, the way people listen to music and the way they find music. So I think we still think that the artists are the most important thing going forward. They're the creators. That's why we play. And they inspire other people to play. So you're going to see more of that. And, on the marketing side, social media part of it has really changed the business a lot. YouTube, online,
Yep.
Modcast, things of that nature. It's just as influential now as, people don't buy albums anymore, let's face it. They buy songs and they go see concerts.
Yeah, I think I'm one of the last, my generation's one of the last, because we grew up with parents that bought albums.
Yeah.
I think I'm one of the last, of my generation to sort of have vinyl at home, listen to vinyl still, but I'm literally on the cusp of I'm in. And I also DJ'd on vinyl for years too. So I have a thing for vinyl.
There you go.
Yeah, the album thing is done. Like, the streaming has changed all that. Now it's I want to hear this single now. Stream. And so yeah, that's changed a lot. But I think that your direction with the artist thing is good for that, because the artists are still influencing people.
I agree.
They're your biggest flag wavers, really. At the end of the day, especially for really young people. It's freaky for me because I employ a lot of people at Music City, Canada. Over time, obviously, people have come and gone, but in the last while, and everyone that just gets, as you get older, everybody in a position like mine says this, in management, it's like, I got younger people who I'm hiring who don't know who some of these artists are, right? Who don't know some of these albums are that I grew up with. So it kind of freaks me out. Like Genesis. Hey, you heard of Genesis? What? What's that? No.
Is that our brand?
Yeah, no clue, right? Meanwhile, I grew up, because I was a lighting guy. Genesis was very involved with the invention of the moving head,
right? With
DMX, with DMX lighting control, all kinds of stuff. So, I didn't just connect with their music and with the guys in the band and their solo careers and all that stuff. It's like, no, even everything that they've done along the way, I connect with. And these people I'm hiring who want to be lighting people, want to be songwriters, musicians, they haven't done the history. So that's why I'm doing the show, Music City Live, is to try to capture all this. And it's funny that you mentioned like YouTube and social media. That's obviously a big part of our platform.
Sure.
But I'm looking forward to next year, coming back to the show.
Absolutely.
And doing maybe even some long format stuff here, trying to get some of the people from brands like
the factory.
Yeah, absolutely. I'd love to.
I'd love to host you.
Okay, Rick.
Show you all the cool stuff. See it for yourself. Talk to the employees.
That'd be great, man.
Yeah, man.
We should show it to the world and let everybody know all the amazing history that Martin has to.
Yeah, we have tours to the factory every day. I think we have over 20,000 people tour our factory every year.
Wow.
That's crazy. They're just people wandering around while everyone's working. It's fun because you can interact with the people who are who are making your guitar. You can actually see them coming down the line.
Yeah, that is awesome.
It's kind of fun, and it's the best smell in the world when you walk in there.
Yeah.
It smells amazing. Absolutely amazing.
Well, listen, Fred, thank you so much, man.
I really enjoyed this. I had a great time.
Yeah, thanks so much. Hey, everybody, Ryan here from Music City Live, inside the Roadcase at the 2025 NAMM show in the Martin booth. We'll see you on the next episode, everybody. Take care.